Hi there, welcome. It's an incredibly busy Sunday, and Canada's busiest border crossing with the U.S. remains closed this morning, but is expected to reopen later today, according to the Windsor mayor. Police did push back many protesters yesterday. Early this morning, they moved in, made arrests, and started to impound vehicles. In Ottawa, many residents are expressing frustration with police as the occupation of parts of the capital continues now into its third week. Plus, there are similar demonstrations popping up at other border crossings in Manitoba and British Columbia. The Minister of Emergency Preparedness Bill Blair is here with the federal government's response. Minister, nice to see you.
Good morning, Rosemary.
Let's start with Windsor. What are you hearing about the likelihood that the bridge will reopen today?
Well, very pleased with first of all, the declaration of an emergency and the enactment of new emergency powers in the province of Ontario by the provincial government. I think that was necessary and very welcome. And as well, we've now begun to see the police taking action, and they'll always act in a proportional and measured way and try to resolve this as safely as possible. But we've also seen them acting with determination, and I know they've begun to make arrests today. They've begun to tow some vehicles. They're removing those blockades. They're doing what is necessary and what we require them to do to protect Canadian interest and to protect Canadian sovereignty. And there's a very significant issue. We're quite prepared to do whatever is required to respond and to end this threat to Canadian at our borders and to our critical infrastructure and for the disruption in our communities. But the work of the police was very important this morning, Rosemary, and we're going to do everything we can to continue to support that action.
I want to talk more about what the federal government could or should be doing, but first, let's talk about what's happening here. I'm not sure that I would characterize what the police are doing here as determination, Minister. Have the Ottawa police failed in keeping law and order in this city?
Well, first of all, I was obviously speaking about the actions of the police in Windsor, Ontario, and I think that was necessary and appropriate, and they're doing the job that we need them to do. And I think clearly there needs to be more done in the city of Ottawa. Yesterday, I'm also very pleased to see that the Ontario Provincial Police, along with the RCMP and the Ottawa Police Service, have now started set up an integrated command table, and that really brings needed expertise and experience and resources to the task of ending this.
Right.
The situation in Ottawa. It's unacceptable. We need the police to do their job, and we have to make sure that they have the tools and resources to do it.
So just in terms of that integrated table, should we not read into that the Ottawa police needed help and weren't capable of doing what was being asked of them?
Yeah, in my conversations with Mayor Watson and I know our officials' conversations with the police in Ottawa, it was very clear that they were asking for help, and so we're bringing them additional resources and the expertise and with the actions taken by the provincial government on Friday, they now have new authorities and I think very effective tools. We just need the police to do their job and to enforce and uphold the law and to restore public safety in Ottawa.
So yesterday there was no sign of enforcement. Coming into work this morning myself, no sign of enforcement, Minister. You know policing a whole lot better than I do as someone that was a top cop in Toronto. Why would enforcement not be happening right now?
Frankly, it's somewhat inexplicable to me too, Rosemary. We need the police to do their job. But the laws are there, and we've heard that they require additional help, and we've got them the additional help. But we really need them to enforce the law, to uphold the law, and to restore order. It's the important job that the police have in our society, and we need them to do it.
And what have you been told about why they're not doing it? I mean, I'm sure you've been to Ottawa over the past 16 days. It is a state of chaos, I think that's fair to say, in the downtown core, and many people in this city have lost complete faith in their police.
Yeah, listen, I understand and I empathize with the frustration and concern that the people of Ottawa and even right across the country have had. We have seen these types of demonstrations managed very capably by the police in other jurisdictions, in Toronto, in Montreal, and Quebec. We know it's a very difficult task, and we've listened very carefully, and we're working really hard to make sure that the police in Ottawa have the support. And we've seen police officers from other jurisdictions there, but we need action, and we need the plan to come together quickly, and for the police to move forward with resolve and with adequate resources. But ultimately, this is the responsibility of the police to enforce and uphold our laws, and we just need them to do it.
Given that that doesn't seem to be happening, there are other options on the table. I know the Prime Minister was asked on Friday about bringing in the military, about using the Emergency Measures Act. I know it is not his preference, but if you don't, if there was never ever a moment for the Emergency Measures Act, Minister, is this not it?
And Rosemary, let me tell you that the federal government, our government, is prepared to do whatever is required in order to bring the situation back under control, to restore public order and law and order at not only in the city of Ottawa, but the activities that are targeting right now at critical infrastructure at our borders in the country are intended clearly to harm Canada and Canadians. They've idled thousands of workers. They've interrupted critical infrastructure and the supply of goods and services that Canadians need. And so we are prepared to do everything necessary. And to be clear, we're working really closely with the provinces and territories on this, because many of the authorities that are necessary and the resources, the police, for example, are under the authority of the provinces. But we've also made it clear to them that in any situation where the circumstances exceed the ability or the authorities of the province, we are prepared to step in and do what is ever necessary. We'll support the provinces and territories, but we will also do what is required. And there are other federal resources, and you made reference to it. We have seen, for example, the Canadian Armed Forces have been incredibly important in helping us to respond to other types of crisis and floods and fires, for example, in British Columbia or in long-term care facilities in Quebec. And although it is the responsibility and role of the police to enforce the law, there is a role for other federal authorities, and we are examining the appropriate use of all of those things.
Could that be an increased presence of the RCMP, simply that, or the RCMP deciding to lead this?
Well, the RCMP have a very significant role in helping us end this thing. I spoke with the commissioner of the RCMP this morning. I know that she and her team are fully engaged now in policing this event and helping the police in Ottawa, but also, they are the police of jurisdiction in British Columbia, Alberta, Manitoba, and in many other places right across the country. And so they've also got this responsibility and are doing this job. So yeah, absolutely. The RCMP are as our national police service and as the police of jurisdiction in several of our provinces, have an important role to play, and we're making sure that they have the support and the resources they need to do the job we very much need them to do.
I understand all those things, but we are now on day 17 of this, Minister. At what point does the federal government say, enough, we are taking control of the situation and we are ending this, because we don't see other levels of government or police doing it? What is the timeline? What is the deadline for the government on this?
Well, I'll tell you, we've already said, and I'll say it again this morning, enough is enough. This has to come to an end. The situation in Ottawa is unacceptable and intolerable, and the police need to restore order and enforce the law in that city. The border closures are having an enormous impact on Canadian workers, Canadian manufacturers. They're eventually, and in a not very distant future, going to start impacting food and services. And so the time is now. But I want to assure you, we've been seized with this from day one. We've been working with the provinces. There's been conversations back and forth, for example, in Ontario with the Premier's office and with the Solicitor General, between our police services, and we are making sure that, for example, Ontario did what we needed them to do on Friday, and I'm very grateful for that. Right. We'll continue to work it and do what else is necessary.
I hear all that, Minister, but how long are you giving the province to enforce what it announced on Friday? You've said enough is enough. Clearly, protesters don't care what you say, with all due respect. So at what point does the province demonstrate that it has not done enough and that you need to take control?
Not enough has been done in Ottawa, but we saw very effective police action begin yesterday in Windsor at the Ambassador Bridge border. They've made arrests this morning. They are doing the job of opening that border up, and it's exactly what we needed them to do. We are also working with them and with other agencies to ensure that we can maintain the security so that we don't end up playing whack-a-mole chasing these people around from border to border. So there's a lot of work and coordination that's going on there, but yesterday, I think very clearly, and it began the appropriate and effective police enforcement. They're doing the job we need them to do, and we need to make sure that job gets done everywhere it's required.
Just to end on this, then, Minister, it is fair to say then that the Emergency Measures Act is being actively discussed at the Incident Response Group and around Cabinet?
on a daily basis and right from the beginning. But we want to make sure that the appropriate authorities that are primarily with the provinces are fully utilized. And if the situation exceeds their capacity to manage it, then we're prepared to do everything and anything that is necessary.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we need the police to do their job.
Is there reticence, though, in Cabinet and by your government to use this measure?
I think there's appropriate caution. But I wouldn't describe it as reticence. We are prepared to do whatever is required, and we're working with our provincial and territorial partners, with municipalities and with the police across the country to get that job done. But we're not reticent about using tools that will be necessary if and when it becomes necessary to invoke them.
Last question, Minister, just because I know you've seen a lot of things over your time as a police officer and after. Have you ever seen anything like this?
I've been to an awful lot of demonstrations, and I've been responsible for policing very many of them. I'm very concerned about what we're seeing here and the ineffectiveness to date of law enforcement to be able to restore order. And so I share everyone's concern, but we have to do what is necessary to bring this under control. The law has to be enforced, and I would urge those people who are caught up in this and engaging in these protests. They need to understand the harm that they are doing, and in fact, they're committing serious criminal offenses and should be held to account for it.
Minister, always good of you to make the time. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Rosemary.